Good evening, my fellow scientists. It is Thursday, December 7th, 2017, and I want to talk about topological molecules, molecules that are linked by topology instead of by chemical bonds. Notion is that if you have a short polymer in the shape of a circle, and you have another short polymer in the shape of a circle, those two could be linked up like a chain, thereby making a new material with unique properties. Obviously, a chain is made of, literal chain is made of steel, but it has very different properties than a rod of the same length and mass of solid steel. Right? Having interlinked solid bits changes the whole object from being a rigid object to being a very flexible object, despite the material being the same. So that topology changes the properties of steel, and you can imagine that there might be similar topological changes for smaller molecules. The example that I'm familiar with was called a rotaxane, where a barbell-shaped molecule has a little circle around the thin neck of the barbell, and that allows for motion of that little ring around that neck. Interesting properties can then be created. You can check that out on Wikipedia. Especially interesting are the properties that are dynamic. So depending on the position of the ring on the barbell, you can have things that are fluorescent or non-fluorescent or pH sensitive, etc. So that's pretty neat. But that's only two objects that are topologically entangled. What if you had 20 or 1,000? So today was published in Science a new topological achievement where I believe 17 rings were put together, a fairly large number, very impressive, sets the record, sets the standard, and the key seems to be using a metal to orient the two rings and then to close them. So you can imagine there's no, unlike a chain, there's no handling of those individual rings. The only way to get them aligned is to use chemistry. And I think that relates nicely to this idea that a lot of what we think of as nanotechnology is at its heart a lot of chemistry, which is a bit of a trope in the nanotech field, but still valid. The other example of topologically interlinked molecules is in DNA nanotechnology. You can assemble DNA into a lot of interesting shapes and then entangle those shapes. That's been demonstrated as well, and you can read about that on Wikipedia too, which I have put in the description if you're interested. In any case, I think that a lot of this remains demonstration, prove we can do it, and I think that, for me, that's enough. It's just really, really cool. But the kinds of new materials you can make should be pretty remarkable. If you can make extremely rigid, extremely strong materials flexible, that's it's going to be a very different world. So if you like that kind of thing, hope you tune in Monday through Friday. We talk about chemistry, new interesting bits of the literature, and all kinds of fun science that I find interesting, at least, as well as our own results right here in the Alleb Lab.